Sherry turned 16 in March, and she is
I'm not ready for us right now.
Okay, Sherry, come here. Sherry, are you looking more forward to dating or driving? I get the feeling that you are more like the typical poster child for the dad who is mean to the boys as they come to pick up
But
the
our dad
daughter.
isn't mean.
Now that she's turning 16 this spring, I'm like, oh my word, you really are emotionally ready. Okay, there we go. I got Eve to preschool and got my makeup on. I'm reading through some comments on my Instagram and on Chad's Instagram, and I'm really excited to address something with you. A lot of you started asking about Sherry dating. Are you going to let Sherry date? And now you're asking about Chad. And so I'm going to answer that question for you, and I'm going to clarify something a little bit. And I wrote it down on my phone. Let me pull it up here. Because I thought it was so interesting. Some of the language that I've seen repeated in the comment section over and over. By the way, look what I did today. I got back from taking Eve to her preschool, and I slipped and fell on ice in my driveway. I saw a car driving by, and I literally slipped, feet up in the air, landed on my hip. My hip looks a little worse than my hand. I'm like licking my wounds today. Okay, so found the quote, or found some of the words that I've seen in the comments, and the words are forbid and not allowed. So a lot of what was in it was, do you allow your kids to date? And then other people will get on and comment, and they're like, no, Mormons aren't allowed to date before they're 16. No, it's forbidden for her kids to date before they're 16. So the word allowed and forbidden, I think, depends on what you think allowed means. So, do I allow Chad to date before he's 16? If by that you mean, am I going to stand in the doorway and forbid him to leave the door if he's going out on a date? No. If that's what the word allowed means, then yes, he's allowed. But in our church, and we're not actually called the Mormons. Mormons is actually a term that was a discriminatory term years and years ago. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So anyway, are members of the church allowed to date? I just don't love the word allowed. We are commanded not to date. So here's why I don't like the word allowed. We're commanded to obey our parents. Do good members of the church not obey their parents? Yes, every single day. We are commanded not to be selfish. But am I selfish? Yes. Yes, I am. We are commanded to do a lot of things, but we always fall short. And that's the whole point of having the Savior. And so, because he makes up for our lacking, but we wake up every morning and we try again, right, to be a little bit better. So there is a commandment in our church not to date before we're 16. What I have done in our household is I've sat our kids down and I say, okay, so here's the wisdom and why we choose not to date before 16. Here is what the prophets have said. And I believe that once you start dating, you start getting that connection emotionally to a person, you're being primed and you're that much more ready to become physically active with that person. And so 16 is a really good age to start that. And any earlier, I think, is a bit premature in the development of the brain. And I have seen this with Sherry and I have seen this with Chad. There's so much maturing that happens between the ages of 14 and 16. It's unreal. I know it's only 2 years, and Sherry's very mature for her age. But even she at 14, some of the emotional decisions she was making, even though she was doing really well in school and she does really well socially, these emotional decisions she was making were not mature. But now that she's turning 16 this spring, I'm like, oh my word, you really are emotionally ready to handle all of the emotional decisions and the physical decisions that you have to start making when you're with someone that you really care about. So I explain that to my kids, and then I ask them to obey that, but they're not forbidden. If they're like, well, you know what, I hear what you're saying, Mom, and I think it's a bunch of bull, so I'm just going to do what I want. Then they do what they want, and they know in doing so that they're going against what they've been taught. So my job as a parent is not to force them to do anything. That's another word I don't love, because it makes us sound so much more extreme than what we really are. I don't force my kids to go to church, and I don't force my kids to keep the commandments, and I don't force my kids not to date before they're 16. I think that part of being a really good parent is just knowing what your own values are and then teaching them to your children. It's up to your children if they decide they're going to hold the same values and principles you are. That's totally up to them. I can't make them have the same values and principles I do. Anyway, that's just a little bit of the psychology in our home. That's how we run things. That may not be how you run things in your household, and that's totally fine. But I'm always interested in how other people balance things between, you know, what the family values are, and then when a child decides that they do or don't agree with those values and how those dynamics work. Because when they don't work, I just don't want to tear a relationship apart over it. I've seen members of families stop talking to each other for decades because they didn't agree on a value. And I just think that's so sad, and I don't ever want that to happen in my house. I want my children to always feel comfortable coming to me. If they grow up believing something different, I still want them to come to the dinner table, and I still want to, let's just talk. Let's just have a mother-son relationship or a mother-daughter relationship, whatever that looks like for you. So anyway, I thought that might be helpful in kind of explaining that a little bit. When Chad comes home, I'm going to ask him. So far, he hasn't come to me and said, hey, Mom, I want a date. He's had lots of girls of interest that have caught his eye, that he's enjoyed texting back and forth and doing little things with in groups. But he's never come to me and said, can I date? So I'm just going to ask him.
My nose is so dry.
Chad doesn't seem very impressed by the snack today. Russell likes it.
Just type it in. I have a lot of homework on the computer to do.
I'm sorry, Chad.
Like 5 hours of homework.
Do you have 5 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, go get on it.
But I have to empty the van.
Well, that's not hard. I have a list of chores for the kids, and you have to empty the van. Just like the garbage. Go in the van and gather the garbage. It's not that hard. It won't take you more than like 6 minutes, I promise. So Chad, I did a video today on dating, and I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you want to start dating? Like, I don't know if I've ever asked you that. I just assumed that you didn't. Because you've never asked.
I wouldn't care if I started dating, but I'm 13 and I feel like I'm too young. So,
Okay.
I'll probably start dating when I'm 16. So.
Okay. That's fair enough. You know that you can always come talk to me, right? If you ever want to. Mm-hmm. Good talk. Boys come home from school so hungry, so hangry. Good talk. What about you guys? So do you guys date at a certain age?
Hey, less than 3 more months for me.
Sherry's counting down. Did you hear her? She's like, 3 more months until I start dating.
Just a week.
Sherry turned 16 in March, and
Less than 3 months.
she is
I'm not
like,
ready for her to start
okay, Sherry, come here.
dating. I'm not ready for her to start dating.
My nose is burning and this
Why?
made it so much worse.
Chad doesn't want you to start dating.
I don't care.
Sherry, are you looking more forward to dating or driving?
Cool.
Is there one you're looking forward to more than the other?
Not really.
Same. It's going to be exciting. A lot of independence. Abby's excited for Sherry to start dating. Are you
I'll just plan on teasing.
I get the feeling that you are more like the typical poster child for the dad who is mean to the boys as they come to pick up
But
the
our dad
daughter.
isn't mean.
I know. Kevin's looking forward to it. Like, he's really excited. I don't think
not
he's
gonna be the mean.
I don't think he's going to be the mean.
I'm gonna be the guy that gets a shotgun with all the name tags.
That is not dad. But Chad,
A little
this is
affected.
surprising that you're a little affected by this.
I don't want her to start dating.
Why?
Ted likes Sherry and he doesn't.
He's protective.
Joan of Arc was a very brave young woman. She went to war to follow her voices because she did it to save France.
Did you make that
Just
up?
asked Google when she died because we knew she died May 30th, but what year? So I'm like, okay, Google, what year did Joan of Arc die?
Come on.
Joan of Arc died on May 30th, 1431.
Oh, I put 1431. 1431.
Wow, that was before
1431.
the New World was discovered. You did a report on Joan of Arc.
She was born 1412. She basically saved France. I know.
Talk about girl power right there.
1, 2, 3, down.
Good job, Joan of Arc.
I learned that she got stabbed through the chest with an arrow, and she,
Is that how she died?
No, she was burned.
She lived through that.
Yeah, she lived through it. She actually, it was during a war, and then when she got shot, they just put oil in it, and then she went back to war.
One of the soldiers suggested that they go to a person, like using like dark magic.
Okay.
She's like, I refuse to take upon any power except for God's power upon me. And so another soldier suggested, let's just put oil and cotton in the wound. And so she did that, and she went back to war.
Wow. It is now 9 o'clock at night. I've literally been wearing my coat all day because I've been in and out driving. My night consisted of me going to the grocery store. No. Took Eve to ballet dance, then picked her up. Then took Julie to gymnastics. While she was at gymnastics, I drove to the grocery store and bought groceries so I could make dinner tonight. Went back and picked her up, came home. Sherry told me that I forgot her cardstock for her homework. So I turned back and got cardstock, came home. Then realized I didn't have time to make dinner anymore. Then took Julie to her piano lesson, then got back from picking her up just now. I have done nothing productive today. And I just reminded myself, if you measure whatever you want to call it, your worth, your power, by what you do as a mother every day, you're going to always come up short. It's going to look like you don't do a dang thing, in other words. But I can't measure it that way. I just can't. It's like a long-term race. Like I'm the turtle and I'm just going very consistently, and eventually slow and consistent wins the race. All right. Well, glad we had this talk. Sherry, Sherry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you what I asked Chad.
How about dating?
Yes,
What about it?
look up so that they know you're alive. There we go. I just asked him if he was wanting to date. Are you glad you waited till you're 16, or do you feel like you were like shorted? Okay. And I'm not putting words in your mouth. I just want you to answer honestly. Did I make you? Did I force you?
No.
Whose choice was it?
Mine.
Yours. Okay. I'll let you get back to work. I can tell I'm bugging you. Sherry's working very hard on extra credit.
I don't even have to do it yet. I'm just doing it in case I need it.
Well, it looks amazing.
I have to do 3 of these and this one took me an hour, so.
Oh, you're gonna be up all night. Can I get you anything?
No, it's okay.
You like these snack packs? You ate the whole thing?
Yeah, I
We've been getting these little snack packs. I don't know why they look so amazing when they're packaged like this, because when I put like, it just has nuts in it and raisins and some little pieces of turkey, which we always have in the fridge, but why when it's packaged, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this looks good. Don't know.